Nino.
Hello. Hello, and welcome to the Just Mates podcast, where we aim to destigmatise men not speaking up about mental health. Remember to follow our social pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Just Mates Pod. You can listen to and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, and Apple Podcast. All links are provided in the description. In today's episode, we will be discussing energy. We kind of feel like a lot of the topics, especially with the premise of our podcast, is obviously based on more negative vibes and overcoming it. But I think this week we want to kind of talk about how we can be positive and just good things that happen. And, you know, we always say about good energy gravitating towards us if you're more positive. Obviously, with last week's happenings, I think it's important to realise that we're coming out at the better end, especially you, Sam.
Yeah, well, it just proves that you can have your ups and downs, I suppose. And last week was obviously a major down, like a roller coaster. I'm in a much better place now. Had a lot of people contact me and just check if I was all right. I think you said a couple of your mates reached out.
Quite a few of my friends sent some well wishes towards your way, and it just shows that you speaking out has kind of raised more awareness on the topic as well.
Yeah, it was a difficult one to record, really, but and it took me a while to get out of that whole phase that I was in. Still comes up every so often, but the intensity that I experienced, like when I was doing that,
I mean, even listening back, I found it a struggle, and I had a gulp in my throat the whole time. And I'm just glad that we're still able to, week in, week out, just talk about things. And even if you have felt that low, and there's bound to be times like that going to come up again, but I just think it's important that at least now listeners, and especially me, I'm aware of your mental state and know where your head's at.
I think the thing that it kind of highlighted to me the most is, like, yes, we can give all of this advice and stuff, which is great. And I did try and follow it, and some of it, well, a lot of it did kind of help. But when you're in that headspace, you literally don't give a shit.
You negate everything that's of common sense, really.
Yeah, and I kind of, looking back at it now, I feel a bit stupid for not taking a lot of that advice. But at the same time, when you're in that headspace, you can't.
It's just like,
do not care.
To someone in that state, it's like saying to someone who's angry, relax. Like, that's the worst thing you could say to someone who's angry, is just chill or relax. Like, you wouldn't. And in that state, that's probably all of that advice just sounds like a rolled up relax.
Yeah, and I kind of felt in a different way, kind of a bit of a hypocrite, as I was saying. You know, it's like I'm one of those people that I can give advice, but when it comes to taking my own advice, I don't take it.
Yeah, a lot of us are like that, and it's so much easier trying to drag somebody else out of a situation because you just know that that's not the be-all or end-all for that other person, and you know that they can just come out of it at a better end. But when it's yourself, you kind of start digging your own grave and start, like, climbing into the hole that you're creating yourself, really.
Yeah, well, it's easier to see from outside perspective, because when you're emotionally involved with something, whatever it is, that plays a big part in how you determine what to do and what to say and what to think. Where if you're looking at it from, like, an external perspective, you can sort of like rationalize things. You can say that about anything.
I think
really.
the biggest probably takeaways, it leads on to the topic of this podcast, is energy. Like, when you are feeling that way, obviously if you're surrounded by dark colours, a dark room, you're not going to be feeling any kind of positive energy, are you? So when you are, like, feeling in that state, maybe just take yourself away from that situation and try and look for some sort of positivity. Like, I think you mentioned midweek after the pod that you invested in a light, didn't you?
Well, no. Well, I didn't invest in it, but my family came down to see me. Just pure coincidence. My mum had to go and pick something up from London, and they decided to come and see me and get some food, which was great. And I spoke to my grandma on the phone. And I said, like, oh, I need to get one of these mood lights, because I think the light in my room is just absolutely crap, and it just makes me feel a bit rubbish and stuff. It's just I can't explain it. But I've always wanted one. She bought one. It's not the actual
Lumi.
I can't remember what they're normally called, but it's not. Well, it's not a Lumi. It's like Sauron's tower. It's huge. Just sits in my room, and immediately your mood just changes when it's on. It's really
what is
weird.
it called again? In Lux. Okay, no, but that just goes to show that that's your source of positivity now, I suppose.
Putting a twist on things, mate. I think we'll just get the conversation going. How's your week been?
Okay, obviously it's Monday now, we're recording, but prior to this, it's been a lot more uplifting than I have felt the past few months. Obviously, whether the listeners know or if they're just tuning in now, obviously I was on furlough. We both were, and obviously you've got a job now. I was on furlough, and I was made redundant last month, and I've been applying for jobs left, right and centre. And with the market being so saturated, it was really becoming daunting and difficult to hear anything back from people. But in the past 2 weeks, I've had an influx of messages from a lot of people, some recruiters, some actual big companies. I had 3 interviews last week. I've got a second interview this week. And I haven't really told people because I didn't want to jinx it as such. But I think just having that source of positivity come into that week kind of lifted my moods for the remainder of the month, I suppose, because now I'm looking forward to something.
What did I tell you? And this is what I'm guilty of. I'm the most impatient person you'll ever meet.
You pretty much were saying good things will happen, and a lot of my friends were saying the same thing. That it just comes with time, and obviously, as you can imagine, I was applying to so many people, but all of a sudden I've had an influx of people getting back to me. It's because they're now processing my applications, I suppose, and it's just about patience really. And like whether I'm not, so one of them interviews I got a really nice do you know what, it's weird, I got a really nice rejection. Like it was one of the nicest rejections I think I could ever have received. I won't mention the company that it was, but so basically the interview went swimmingly well, and
oh, damn you, McDonald's.
So it was Burger King. No, so it went really well, Sam, and it was just a breath of fresh air actually going forward in one of these stages. And so basically they had a few days to ponder on it, and they responded back to me saying that we really enjoyed speaking to you. I mentioned my podcast in the interview as well, and they said the branding on your podcast is amazing. It's great that you've used your self-initiative and like kind of done this kind of thing. But at the moment in time, the candidate that we've chosen is a lot more curated to the role than you are. But so basically in the interview, that I felt like that was such a nice rejection. They could have just aimlessly just sent an automated message to me, but they didn't. But what really lifted my moods, and I guess it's me bragging now, but I guess I can have bragging rights, is so in the interview process they told me that they had over 500 applicants to the role. And when I kind of narrowed down to the nitty gritty, they told me that they actually only got back to 7 people out of 500, and I was one of them 7. So, and in the email they said, from the work we've seen, the breadth of the work in your portfolio, we are sure you will find someone. It's just this role wasn't the best role for you.
Yeah, I've had that before, mate. Before I joined Acuity, when was it? I think it was probably when I graduated. I went to an agency in Reading. I was
Reading. Oh yeah. No, I remember.
And I had I had an interview at this SEO agency. which was the first one. The first interview went great. Second interview, blah 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 blah, did well. Between me and a couple of other people, and they said, "You would have had it. It's just because I went into the interview and basically just said, like, I'm open to anything. I'd like to learn." But the other candidate was so keen on SEO that they had to take him. But in a way, like, I kept in contact with, like, the owner of the company. I've still got people on LinkedIn. It's like, if I ever need SEO, I know who to go to. It's like, it's
I think a lot of these things are blessings in disguise, and I think it's just looking at the positive of every situation, regardless of it being something really shitty. Like, for instance, like you just said, like, you might not have had the correct response from that second interview and got the job, but it's kind of led you to network more. And with this interview that I didn't get a second interview at, that at least they've told me and filled me with confidence that my work is good enough. So it's kind of just, no matter what, you've just got to look at the positives, I think. And like we always say, good energy, if you give out good energy, it will gravitate back to you at some point.
And like this whole situation which happened to me last weekend, which I won't really go into at all. Like, I never thought I could really put a positive spin on it, but I kind
Do you know
of
what?
have
I think
now.
maybe it might have been quite overwhelming for you because you must have had quite a few people message you. And I know that there was a select few that even I was surprised that had messaged. But I mean, just in that moment, you realise that there are actually people who care. And I know that you know that anyway. And even when you're doing it, you kind of deep down subconsciously do know that. But it's that feeling of overwhelmness and letting your thoughts kind of overweigh you. But it just goes to show that, again, like we're still moving forward and you've come out at the better end of that. And there's still a process, and I'm not saying for the listeners that it's just as easy as talking, and you're probably still feeling an array of emotions no matter what, but you're getting better, and we're here for you.
Well, the main thing is I'm looking to get CBT, I think, or something. I haven't really looked into it as much, but I've been sent some links by the employee assistance program at work, and they were trying to call me today, but I didn't really pick up because I was busy in a meeting. But that's a really good point to highlight as well. So if you're working for an employer, I know we kind of had it at Acuity, previous company, but a lot of companies generally do have an assistance program where you can get support and counselling and stuff. I know at Acuity I had 6 free sessions. Unfortunately, they didn't offer me. Well, they said because the problems stem quite deep, you're better off having open-ended counselling, which is ongoing, instead of 6 sessions. Because if it's 6 sessions, there's only so much they can do, and it's okay. Understand that, but they were like, here's some links, I think you should do CBT, don't bother with medication just yet unless you need it. But they gave me advice, so like that's quite a good thing to kind of to look at if you're struggling at work, admittedly, or wherever.
That EAP program, even I rang in a few times. I mean, I didn't go in depth on the phone calls because I felt it was the different emotions that I was feeling at the time, but I didn't feel like I needed to repeatedly go back to them because at that point in time I wasn't really ready for that. But I know that there are so many hotlines and Samaritans and so many charities out there that support people that feel like the way we do, and there's a person there for every single feeling that you are feeling.
I didn't pick up the phone to Samaritans. I was borderline picking up the phone to Samaritans. They did suggest it, and I probably should have done, but that's also important to know as well. There's loads of numbers. You don't even have to be working or on an employee assistance program.
And I think even last week I mentioned about a texting service that there is. There's so many things that even if you don't want to speak in person, you can text people. I just feel like the point of it is there's always someone there for you, and that is the positive of the situation. So I mean, but yeah, like going back to my week, yeah, it was a good week. I mean, I was still feeling low because there's nothing definitive coming through, and a few other things on my mind. But regardless of that, them 2-3 interviews that I had were quite uplifting. I felt positive because something was actually happening, and yeah, me feeling positive on them days kind of reflected on my mood for the rest of the day and how I was with my mum, my dad, like everyone around me. I was a lot more positive.
How's working out going, you hunky chunky
bro? So yeah, gym's shutting has been the worst thing that could probably happen to me, because with not working, gym was kind of my go-to. I was going 5 times a week, and now from this Thursday that's just passed, I've been working out from home, and I'm restricted with weights, and I'm trying not to let it get to me. So today I did chest at home with just my dumbbells and resistance bands, and I feel so pumped. I felt so pumped because I made use of what I had.
Yeah, I thought your bicep was talking to me.
Yeah, you need to stop with that. You're going to make other people jealous.
Yeah, probably, mate. Oh well, but no, it's good, mate. I went on.
You're back to running?
5K. Right. Yeah, just a casual jog around park is good fun. I'm going to try and do it like maybe two.
I mean, I remember when maybe back in the first lockdown, both of us were heavily invested in our running.
Yeah, we probably.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing 5K every day at least, so
it's good.
But with the weather like this, especially now, I mean, it's pouring outside. It's kind of, it goes back to one of our previous episodes of like the mood being killed, but you just got to strive through, I think.
Yeah, I do like running. It's so like when you finish your run, you just feel.
I think you just feel rejuvenated, don't you? Like there's so much, even though you've lost all that energy from running, you just feel alive, I think.
Well, there's no shit in your head.
It's just a good way to escape, kind of.
And that's just what's kind of made me realise and stuff. Like, all of this shit is just, it is in your head. Like, it's not happening to you. It's just in your head.
And no matter what we say, like, obviously everyone's going to have a ton of advice for us. Everyone's going to try and get us out of the depressive hole that we might be facing, but we are technically our own enemies, and until we drive ourselves into more of a positive state, we're not gonna you can't do anything until you help yourself.
No, and that's true. We've got to do what you need to do to sort it out, to be honest. But that is an important takeaway. It's just, you know, a lot of this stuff is like, is it hurting you in this present moment? Like, externally, like, is something hurting you? No. If it's in your head, then it's not happening.
As well,
you know what I mean?
Especially after last week, I can't lie, with the interviews and stuff, it's helped a lot more with my mind state. But if something's not going to, and I live by this, if something's not going to affect you in like 5 days, don't let it ponder in your mind for longer than 5 minutes. It's just so not worth it, and you can just so much easier to utilize that time into something more positive. Even just drive yourself away into, like, I don't know, play a game online. I think we were going to do a gaming kind of episode as well at some point, but like just how switching a PlayStation or Xbox on can just divert your attention.
Yeah, I find that with anything like work or games or just talking to people, anything just to take your mind off of it. And then you find, like, if you do that, I mean, I think you should face up to problems and stuff and try and tackle it, because that's important, but
yeah,
in small doses.
You take it at your own pace, don't you?
Yeah, just don't attack it all at once, otherwise it'll be overwhelming. But that thing last weekend, I did try, like, I did nothing else apart from, like, have this thoughts in my head, right? And I guess, like, talking to people, doing things at work, and with time it gradually, like, healed, I guess. So it still sucks now, but at the same time, just focusing on and doing other things to take your mind off of it gradually really did help.
That, I think in one of our first episodes, one of the first few anyway, we spoke about how when we put on a film, and you know when you're not feeling too great and you just put a film on for background noise, and when you're watching that film, you're not actually processing what's happening, and then 20 minutes pass and you're like, well, what actually just happened? Even though you were glued to the screen, you kind of dissociate yourself. But I think the difference with actually playing a game in reflection to a film, with a game you have to be a lot more engaged. I think just doing something that engages your brain, your mind, even a game on your phone, like them word games that you get, Scrabble or Word Find or whatever it is, just something that kind of stimulates your mind to not even have the chance to daydream or like think about anything else.
Just have something that you like probably can't pause.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
yeah. So I found that, I think it was 2 nights ago, I was playing online, or was it last night or night before? I was playing online with my cousin. I was playing Rocket League. Because of you, this is actually, we still need to play. And he's got a DS Switch, and I felt really shit that night. Like I really did. I just weren't in the mood at all. And so we were playing, and I completely forgot about why I was feeling shit, because I was just so involved in the game. And like I had, like he was messaging me as well, like on WhatsApp, bearing in mind he's like 11 or 10. But he was WhatsApping me stuff, and I just completely got myself away from that zone.
No, it's good, mate.
I've only just started playing it again after like 3 years. Do you want to play it tonight? Okay, we'll play it tonight.
Yeah.
But is there anything else that you find, other than an activity, finds that helps you just drift away from your thoughts?
Like I said, working and like doing an actual job and routine helps. Although it can be a bit of a struggle, like it was for me last week, a couple of days. But work helps. Speaking to people, gaming's good. TV if you can. Reading is good. Although obviously I don't do that too much.
I can tell. So it's good, to keep yourself engaged in something.
I was going to say, you know what? Like, it sounds really weird, but in comparison to the first lockdown, I'm actually like, I feel more positive about this one. I feel like
me
I can
too.
If
the gyms were open, I'd feel 10 times better. But do you know what? I do feel like I'll be okay. So moving forward, I guess we should talk about the positives, no matter how you might think that there aren't any, of this second lockdown that's now in force. So obviously with the first one, it was so unexpected. We didn't really know how to deal with things. I mean, at first it was a breath of fresh air, but then it became like a tedious thing. But now we're I feel like it's still going to be a struggle for people, but we're a lot more mentally prepared.
But like, how much does it actually like affect people? Like, realistically speaking, how much does it, like, I know you can't go to the pub. I know there's some shops like that are shut, but everything is online. But realistically, like, how impactful is this? Like, you go into town, you walk into town, and there's more people in town than there was before lockdown. I know. I know you can't meet up with people, like, realistically in big groups, but people weren't really doing that much anyway, from my experience. I think as well, people I know.
What it just goes to show, like, obviously the essential shops are open, like Tesco, Asda, supermarkets and such. Realistically, everything you want is on demand online anyway. And I know it's a level of social interaction, but schools are still open this time round. They've kept schools, workplaces are still open. Not everything has gone into complete oblivion like last time. And I think as well, a lot of people, I said this quite a few weeks ago to someone else, a lot of people feel obliged to achieve something now that we've got so much time on our hands. But I think this year is less about achieving, but more about surviving.
Yeah, well, it's not a zombie apocalypse, but I know
it is. Yeah,
it's just getting by.
We shouldn't feel. I think I made a poster about this. We shouldn't feel obliged to pick up a new skill just because we've got 10 more extra hours in a day. Some people don't work like that. Some people find it a struggle enough to even get out of bed. So I think putting that pressure on people that they have to kind of achieve something because there's more time on their hands is kind of a strain in itself.
Just do your job, get on with it, and if you've got time to do something, then do it. If not,
we have to be positive in the sense that we've got like a month and a half left of this year, and I know it's cliche to say, but every year is a new beginning as such, and it's kind of like a pathway to a new way of thinking, a new way of living, really. And I know it shouldn't take the new year for that to come about, but a lot of people use that as a milestone, as a checkpoint, really. And we might only have a month and a half left of the year, but we can still turn this into a positive.
You feel like you're a completely different person as to what you were. I think you had this discussion earlier about, like, in comparison to what you and me were like working at Acuity last year. Do you feel like you're
100%?
People,
I think,
or like,
having had been through the lockdown for however long it was first, it's kind of built us with a thicker skin, and we've kind of, I mean, how much worse can it really get?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we talked about this a couple of months ago, that you and me, like, we don't take a lot of shit now. I think
as well, because of how shit we've felt, we've kind of in that sense hit rock bottom. So we just know that there's so many more things we can look forward to, and especially with this podcast, Sam, you might not have the same exact feelings, but you probably do. Every week, obviously, when we edit and we record, this is my gateway to positivity. I know we talk about a lot of negative stuff, we talk about things that are depressing, but this kind of makes me feel like a better person, and this kind of shows me that amongst all of this year I've done something that's worthwhile, which makes me feel like so much of a better person.
Well, I've never probably, like, apart from gym, to be, well, actually no, that's a lie, because I was a fatty this time last year. But in the long term, I've never really had anything like gym or anything like this that I've been able to keep up consistently. Like, I couldn't picture a week now that I'm not doing this.
It's revitalizing for me, and I mean, I was talking to my mum about it, about how obviously with the engagement to this podcast, it's not as major as maybe another kind of entertainment kind of service would be, but I still feel like I have an obligation to do this, and it's making me feel better, really.
I mean, how many attempts or days does it take to form a habit?
It's like 7 days, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So by week 5 to week 7, I couldn't picture.
I mean, come on,
doing it.
Hats off to us. I mean, this is what number episode is this? 23, 24, 23?
I don't even know now, mate.
It is 23 this week, and that is 23 Fridays. That is 23 releases, 23 episodes, 23 at least hours of content. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking now. Our first episode was released on the 12th of June.
Shut up.
Yeah.
And we could have been doing that much longer, because June was towards the end of lockdown.
So, I mean, that's the one good thing I feel like has come out of this, and especially with second lockdown in force as well, my friend and I have started another YouTube channel, and I think you've seen it's based on, it's more of an entertainment factor rather than talking like this, but I would never have done that before. I would never, not just the confidence, but the time and the willingness and the motivation to do it. I just wouldn't have done that before. Well,
how's that going?
I'm literally rendering out the second video now, and that will be out this Wednesday. If any of the listeners are interested, it's called N Squared. Find us on our social, on YouTube, at N Squared. But yeah, no, it's something, man. I'm the type of person that's always wants to be busy, and I think that probably doesn't help a lot of the time. But yeah, no, it's a good thing. I mean, I'm trying to not let this lockdown get to me as much as it did last time.
It won't, mate. And if you get a job, then which you will, I know you will. Then it would just make things much easier, mate, and you'll be able to breeze through. I mean, like, I wouldn't know what I'd be doing right now if I didn't land my job that I did. I'd probably be a bit insane. Like,
I think it's horrible to say, and I think a lot of people say it, but this is our new normal now, and like this remote working. I mean, even the interviews I had, they also said that you'd be working from home. And that's just something that we're going to have to get used to. And it just goes to show that the world can still move on. The world can still go round, even if there is a international lockdown.
Yeah, I quite like working at home. Like, I do want like kind of a balance, really. I'd like to go into the office maybe like 2 or 3 times a week in the future, like after all this goes. Like, I think we said there was a vaccine coming, like, but I hope companies would just realise that, people can actually work from home.
It's just adapting, really, as well, to technology. I mean, our jobs, especially ours, we don't need to be in the office. I mean, it goes to show we don't actually need to be there. Everything we do is virtually. The services we provide are done from an online kind of platform. That physical interaction is more so for developing your people skills in our job anyway.
Yeah, and it just takes up a lot of time as well. Like, to be honest, commuting, it's just, I mean, if you work in London or anywhere like in a city, then it just takes up all your time commuting. It just drags on and makes you feel
exactly like, especially when we were at the previous job, it was an hour there and an hour back. That's 2 hours a day, and that's 5 days a week. That's 10 hours of my week gone just on commuting.
Yeah, and that's a lot of money and time. Like, I know when I would get into it, I would just feel like exhausted.
Yeah. But now I guess there's that. That's what I mean. This is a kind of a positive to lockdown and not corona. I don't want to say positive to corona because it's a horrible thing to say, really, with the amount of deaths there have been. But going forward, obviously the new normal has saved a lot of money for a lot of people, as well as obviously with the job losses. But the people who've still got jobs, commuting and stuff, that stress is another issue on its own.
Well, I've saved £250 a month on average just from like commuting costs.
Me also.
Right, benefit there in the long run. I mean, you don't want to say it, but there are positives to it. There are. And
I think we've just, and going back to what you said, we've grown as people now, and going forward as well in 2021, we will start the year in a different mindset to what we were thinking before.
Yeah, you're not wrong, mate.
So it's positive from here on out. I think the more you speak positivity, the more it will just flow around you. So let's just keep everyone's spirits high. This has been less of a topical depression kind of topic and more of a kind of uplifting one.
Yeah, I mean, I personally kind of wanted to put a spin on it from last week. To be honest, I don't want people to. I mean, if people listening to this, I don't want them to think that I'm on death's door because.
But I do hope, obviously, you are feeling a lot better now, Sam.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, of course, and it's just the biggest lesson from it all is just. Time heals, mate.
Yeah, so. And obviously, as much as Sam knows that we're here for him, and all the messages that you've got from everyone, Sam, as well for anyone else going through something difficult like a difficult stage in their life, please reach out to us. We're always a message away, and I feel like even though, Sam, you weren't in a good place, I know for a fact that you probably would still be so responsive to someone, and helping them would help you.
Oh, hell yeah, mate. Hell yeah. Obviously. Yeah, no, you're right. Would. I like it when people reach out to me, You've had that more than me in terms of what we've done with this pod. People messaging and saying they relate to things, but I like that side of things.
I think that's what kind of digs me out of my own hole as well. Like, helping other people kind of just shows that even though I'm not feeling the exact feelings they're feeling, at least I'm not alone in feeling low. So we can just get through it together, really. And it does sound kind of cliche and like I have to say that. But no, I'm genuinely a people person. I love helping.
Yeah, you know what's helped me the past week as well. Is people that haven't even listened to the pod, but I've called a couple of mates that I haven't really spoken to in a while, or at least I don't really speak to that much. I've picked up the frequency of actually calling them and actually speaking to them. That's just really helped. Catching up with people that I spoke to a friend that I haven't spoken to in about 3 years, and just catch up with him for like an hour and a half, and that was just like,
Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean,
really,
even when you go through that thing, it reminds you of things that you need to kind of work on yourself. So yeah, catching up with someone that you've not spoken to for years probably can be another way of another form of therapy, really.
But, yeah, definitely, mate. So I would highlight that. Just speak to people, because you never know.
And you could have met, I'm not saying that they're not, but you could have messaged that person of 3 years that you haven't spoken to, and they could be going through the worst time in the world, and you've just messaged at the right time. Yeah, so it's all about timing. But yeah, time heals. And Sam, again, I'm happy that you're in a better state, and obviously we message outside of this anyway. So, but yeah, no, we're all wishing you well, and we hope you're okay.
Cheers, mate. No, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, should we cap it off there? Let's cap it off there. But thanks again, guys, for listening. This is week 23, about positive energy, uplifting vibes, and we move. But catch us on our socials. We are on Just Mates Pod on Instagram and Twitter, Just Mates Podcast on YouTube and Spotify, and peace out. Anyway, this has been Just Mates Podcast. I'm Nafis, and we'll see you later. Peace out.